Hey, you, this is probably the last UU match I'll post on my channel this generation. And before you start yelling at me that, don't give up on UU, it's such a fantastic tier. I know that, it's a really good tier. Just 5th gen's coming to a close and I don't play that much UU, so, like, realistically, this is probably going to be one of the last UU games I post on my channel this generation. But enough of that sad talk. Today I bring you one heck of a game from the UU tier. It is against Hydreigon Master 635. He's a pretty cool guy, link down below, so you can check him out after the game. Looking at the teams, he has a Crocune, and if you enjoy playing stall in the UU tier like I do, if you don't have something for Crocune, you lose. There's just no way around it. They can sack everything on their team, just save Crocune for last, and your only chance is a crit. And even then, you probably can't 2 KO the damn thing. So Suicune is a massive threat to my team. Other than that, looking at it, if he has offensive Roserade, it could be a little bit problematic, but overall, shouldn't be too bad. The Darmanitan gets hard-walled by about 3 things on my team, so that's not a problem whatsoever. Even if the Azoff is mixed, once again, I should be able to figure out something that I have on my team to take hits from it. And the Gligar Umbreon Core, while it is really good for taking hits, it's not that great in a stall v stall match, as it can get Toxie stalled, PP stalled, just in general. I shouldn't have too much problem with it. My team, if you don't know, is Physically Defensive Arcanine, which you have seen before, and it is absolutely fantastic. I have Curse on my Cofagrigus, just so that if they do leave something like Crocune as their last Pokemon, I have a chance to take it down. Obviously it was Curse, it has Pain Split, Substitute, and Shadow Ball as well. I run a bit more offensive Cryogonal. I much prefer it to Blastoise. I can outspeed Nidoking, outspeed Roserade, and do a hefty amount of damage with Ice Beam. I run max HP, max speed, and I carry Knockoff to knock off leftovers on stuff such as Crocune. I have Specially Defensive Rhyperior. This team is actually based around my Rest Talk Recover Melodic, as it can recover HP even while it's resting, and a Special Defensive Roserade. For my spikes, I'm going to lead Rhyperior just to get up my Stealth Rock, because I see he doesn't have a spinner, and first turn we just exchange rocks. It is customary to exchange rocks on the first turn. He's going to go for Toxic, just wanted to wear down my Rhyperior. I'm going to go for a Rock Blast, predicting him to U-turn out, because most Glygars carry U-turn to keep up momentum. And I'm going to predict him to U-turn out once again, and unfortunately I just take a Toxic and Earthquake, and I'm like, okay, I've got to get out of here. Go right out into Melodic, because he can't really touch this thing, and if I get poisoned, I obviously have the Marvel Scale, so it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to go for the Dragon Tail, just start racking up that early game Stealth Rock damage, and obviously I didn't really feel pressured to going into one of my other moves. I'm going to stay in on the Azoff, go for Rest, just to see what it wants to do, scout out its moveset a little bit, because Azoffs are really versatile. I know he's not going to Stealth Rock, because he already has them up, and I can just rest off the damage. He went for Grass Knot. It didn't do as much as I thought it would, so I'm not scared out, and I stay in, get off the Dragon Tail with the Sleep Talk, bring him out of the Darmanitan, and Darmanitan cannot touch Arcanine. So I'm just going to switch that in, get off the Intimidate, and obviously he does not want to stick around after this, so I'm just going to use the opportunity to get back up to 100% with the Morning Sun as he switches out into his Gligar. Obviously he's going to Roost this turn, so I'm going to try to hit him with a Will-O-Wisp, because it would be fantastic to have him burned. It wouldn't be able to do damage, it would wear him down, and unfortunately I miss. This game, oh my goodness guys, if I didn't know any better, I swear that Gligar would have Bright Powder. The amount of Will-O-Wisps I miss on it is fantastic. Anyway, he brings in his Darmanitan, and I don't really need Rhyperior for anything, so I'm just going to fodder it off. I mean, if you look at his team, Rhyperior is literally useless for everything. So I'm going to go for an Earthquake, just because it does the most damage to anything on his team. Obviously, Gligar wouldn't have taken that much from Rock Blast anyway, and I'm just going to switch out into Cryogonal. Now, the Ice Beam is incredibly obvious, and I know that it is. I'm going to go for Knockoff, because even if you wanted to stay in, predicting me not to go for the Ice Beam because it was so obvious, knocking off his Violet would still be an excellent play, and really good for me. Luckily, the knockoff on the Umbreon is equally as good, because it is going to help me wear down this Umbreon throughout the rest of the game. So much. Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to tell you how much knocking off those leftovers helped on the Umbreon, because Umbreon's really bulky. Anyway, I know that the fact that he has an Umbreon in right now means I can go to Melodic, start burning my turns of sleep. Not that they really matter, because I can always Sleep Talk to recover anyway, but just making myself healthy again, recovering up naturally this time, because I can be at 100% at the end of the turn and awake. I'm going to switch to my Roserade, because the Giga Drain is rather obvious, and maybe set up a Spike. As he sets up Spike, set up one Spike for sure as he goes for a Giga Drain, because I'm more specially defensive. But no, he just crits my Roserade. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you how much of a role that played in this battle. That one layer of Spike would have come in so handy later on in this game, you'll see. Obviously, it would have helped wear down the Umbreon. There were actually a few spots later on where it would have just straight up killed the Suicune with an extra layer of Spike support. So it mattered a lot, but it didn't cripple me to the point of not being able to compete anymore. So I'm going to head back out in the Cryogonal because I can scare him out or prevent him from keep doing his shenanigans. He's going to bring in the Umbreon and basically allow me to get off a Rapid Spin. Foul Play doesn't do that much because I do use a Timid Nature and 0 attack IV, so that just in case of Foul Play or Confusion, I don't do that much to myself. Now, he just used Wish, and I don't know what he wanted to pass to, whether it be the Roserade or the Romanitan or maybe even the Azelf, but I was not going to allow it. So I'm going to go for the Ice Beam, catch whatever he wanted to switch in, happen to be the Romanitan, and I do not allow him to pass that Wish to the Romanitan. So goes out in the Suicune. I know Cofagrigus will be able to come in and prevent him from setting up somewhat, at least for now. I can go for the Curse and wear him down to the point where he doesn't really want to stay in. I know I can live with this Scald, and I'm going to be able to Pain Split up because, as you saw, I was below 50%, and getting back up above 50% allows me to get off another Curse later in the game without killing myself, which I assume I'm going to need to do because I'm going to bring a Cryogonal on the rest just in case he wants to stay in an extra turn. I can knock off his lefties because a Suicune without lefties is just as important as the Umbreon without lefties. Unfortunately, he makes the good play and goes out back into his Umbreon. And so he has to Wish up. Now, once again, I do not want him passing out to that Roserade, the Wish, so I'm going to go for the Ice Beam as the Suicune comes back in. And this turn, he is going to allow me to knock off his lefties, so that is absolutely huge for me, as he's just going to come in, Sleep Talk the rest. Unfortunately, because I lost my Roserade, I don't really have an offensive way of damaging or threatening the Suicune. Really, my two options are Cofagrigus with the Curse and Melodic, Dragon Tailing it out. And now that it doesn't have lefties, it will be worn down with the Stealth Rock, but I need to save my Cofagrigus because Cofagrigus has one use of Curse, and I'm going to have to save it for later in the game. I end up Dragon Tailing him into the Roserade, so I switch into my Cryogonal because I can take any hit he wants to go for as he brings out his Suicune into my Cryogonal, and we've hit a little bit of a stalemate here because we have solid checks and counters for each of each other's Pokemon. Obviously, I'm going to bring in the Melodic on his Scald, not really caring if he burns me or not, because A, I have Marble Scale, and B, I have the rest, so I'm just going to be able to Dragon Tail him out. One thing to note is that I am running out of Dragon Tails because he has Pressure, and I only have 16 Dragon Tails. So it's a little bit of a worry, but knowing that it's Umbreon at this point doesn't have Toxic, I can safely switch in my Arcanine, trying to make him waste his uses of Heal Bell because he's Wish Protect, Heal Bell, and Foul Play, and obviously with the Intimidate and the lowered attack and 0 attack IVs on my Arcanine, which is always a good habit to get into, by the way. Making 0 attack IVs on all your special attackers just so they take less from Foul Play, Confusion, etc. I can easily take on his Arcanine, or his Umbreon with my Arcanine. Stuff happens, out comes Gligar as I go into Melodic to take on said Gligar, and in comes Suicune, and I can easily just Dragon Tail him out. And after Stealth Rock damage, that Suicune's going to be down at about 20%, meaning if I had that layer Spike Up, the Suicune would be dead next time it comes back in, right here. Unfortunately, he isn't, but like I said, I'm not going to dwell on that. Knowing he's going to rest this turn, because he's really low, and if he does anything other than that and I Dragon Tail him out, he could die on re-entry. I'm going to be able to use the opportunity to go out in the Cryogonal and get off a for sure Rapid Spin as he just brings in the Azelf. Now, last time Grass Knot did 38% to my Melodic. I'm almost at 80%, which means after lefties I can easily live 2, recover back up. Unfortunately, he goes for Psyshock, which does a ton more, but luckily I have Arcanine, which will be able to resist both moves that he's shown so far. So like I said, plenty of options on my team defensive-wise, which means I probably have something that can take all of Azelf's moves, which happens to be the case in this case, because Arcanine can come and switch in on Azelf now. Now, the fact that he brought out Suicune, knowing that Melodic can easily recover up on Suicune, it wasn't so much the fact that I'm afraid of Suicune with my Arcanine. I know that I can take an unboosted Scald pretty well and just roar him out, but it was more the fact that Melodic was low on health, and I know I can use the fact that Suicune is in as a free chance to recover up my Melodic's health and just Dragon Tail him out. Unfortunately, I get burned and critted, and the Roserade gets brought out, so horrible turn for me, and I get critted with the Sludge Bomb. The reason I stayed in is because I figured that he would predict my Cryogonal coming in to take the Good Drain and go for the Sludge Bomb, which is a little bit more powerful, and I knew I could live 1. So I stay in with Melodic, and it's going to allow me to get up the rest after I Dragon Tail him out. Actually Dragon Tail him out back out into the Suicune, and he goes for rest here because he doesn't want to get too low, especially because I have Dragon Tails and Roars getting thrown around all over the place, and he doesn't have lefties. I Dragon Tail him back out into the Roserade once again, as I'm just going to go back out into the Cryogonal. It's not so much the fact that Roserade is a problem, it's the fact that it doesn't ever get worn down. because of the fact that it recovers health back up the drain. Luckily, he leaves it in to die here instead of switching out in the Umbreon, so that's really good for me, obviously, as it's no longer a threat switching in on my Melodic. He brings in the Azelf, and as we've seen many times before, Arcanine is now defined as a counter to that Azelf. As I can fire off a Flamethrower, go for the Will-O-Wisp. Unfortunately, once again, I missed the Gligar, so no residual damage for me. As I want to switch back out into the Cryogonal, possibly predicting the Stealth Rock, possibly just saying, okay, you've been in here too long, and I'm going to scare you out with the Ice Beam. Unfortunately, he uses that time to double back out into Suicune, and now seeing that my Cryogonal's in, he doesn't want to stay in, and he's going to double Umbreon as I stay in with my Melodic, going for a Sleep Talk and failing to Dragon Tail. Once again, I'm going to Sleep Talk and fail to Dragon Tail as I just pull a rest, and unfortunately, it's not even like a recover or anything, it's a slap in the face. It's still just Sleep Talking a rest, and on this turn I'm going to rest back up because I don't want to waste Dragon Tails. I'm really low on them right now, and I'd rather Sleep Talk the Dragon Tail. He's trying to pass a Wish out into his Azelf, and of course here is when I recover, or get the recover with a Sleep Talk, instead of Dragon Tailing him out. If I Dragon Tailed him out, it would prevent the Azelf from getting the Wish, and not only that, but get a little bit of damage off on it in the process. Luckily, because I'm still asleep, the Psyshock is not going to be doing very much, and I'm just going to abuse that fact and keep going back to sleep here, waiting to finally get some luck with the Sleep Talk, but I'm still not getting any luck whatsoever in this battle. It's as if the gods were against me, just saying, you know what? You're not winning this. I'm going to try to do everything in my power to make sure that you don't get this. On this turn, I figured he would obviously go for another Psyshock. That's why I went for the rest. Unfortunately, he used the opportunity to go into Gligar. And this turn, he knows I'm going to stay in and go for the Rapid Spin. That's why he stays in. And I'm going to use that knowledge later on in the game that he thinks it's safe to stay in on my Cryogonal for one turn, predicting me to Rapid Spin. Unfortunately, I get Toxic in the process, but knowing he will switch out this time, fearing an Ice Beam, I'm obviously going to go to the Arcanine. And the thing about Arcanine versus Suicune, there is yet to be a turn in this game, Arcanine versus Suicune, where I don't use Roar. So we don't know who outspeeds who naturally yet. This turn, once again, I'm going to go for the Rapid Spin as he goes for the Roost with his Gligar, and predicting him to predict me to switch out, predicting him to switch out in the Suicune, I'm going to go for the Ice Beam. And I know that may seem like you weren't predicting anything, you just went for Ice Beam, but there were so many mind games going on, and especially in a stall game like this, where it's already turn 83, the plays have become so set in stone that this counters this counters this, that predicting me to predict him is actually a really obvious play at that point, and making the obvious play of Ice Beaming on a Gligar is actually not obvious at all, because I should be switching out, predicting him to switch out, and he was thinking I would do that, so he stayed in, trying to set up Stealth Rock again. But instead, I knew he was going to stay in, so I just popped him with an Ice Beam, and that's how that worked. Anyway, in that time, many things happened, including another Roar on the Suicune. He U-turned out with his Azelf back out into his Umbreon, so he didn't die, and I'm just going to burn the Umbreon, trying to make it waste more of his heal bells, as he sets up a Wish on turns like this where it's really obvious that he's going to stay in, and he's already burned him. Obviously going to try to wear him down a little bit more, because like I said, every little bit of damage I get on this thing stays. I miss a Willow, not a big deal. I know he's going to Wish Pass on this turn to something, and I didn't quite know what I wanted to receive the Wish less. It was more of a pick your poison thing. The Suicune can recover its own HP. The Azelf could be a problem, but it's not really a problem because I still have Arcanine. I just roared anyway, let the game decide what gets the Wish, and it turns out the Azelf got the Wish. Not that big of a deal, because I do have Arcanine sitting here, which can counter the heck out of the Azelf into a KO with Flamethrower anyway. As back comes the Umbreon, he's just gonna... Basically, I'm stalling him out of Heal Bells, stalling him out of Wishes, very, very slowly, and there's not much he can do about it. Back comes the Suicune. Once again, I burn it, get a residual down, as he's gonna rest, and I'm going to Roar. So, yet again, another Roar on the Suicune. We still don't know who's faster, naturally. I'm going to get off a Will-O-Wisp as he just Heal Bells on the Umbreon, and I'm just going to roar him out. Out comes the Suicune. He goes for the Scald. Does around half, like I said. I knew I wouldn't take too much from an unboosted Scald, as I'm going to roar yet again on the Suicune, as he just received his own Wish, the Umbreon does, as it allows me to get off a Morning Sun and get back up to full HP, brought down a little bit by the foul play, but not really anything notable, as I'm going to go into Cryogonal to take on the Umbreon. maybe get a freeze. It was almost more of a sacking the cryogonal because I didn't really need it, and I could get a little bit more damage off on the Umbreon. I don't know if it was a great play, but it was almost more of a I want something to happen kind of play. As I know I can come in here with the Melodic. He sends out the Azelf. I know I can take any hit, and there's really not much of an issue because I'm going to try to Sleep Talk the Dragon Tail, of course, because I think I'm either out of Dragon Tails or I have one Dragon Tail left at this point, which I want to save for the Suicune later. Or no, I'm low on Dragon Tails at this point, not out, and I want to conserve them, so I'm going to go to sleep, try to make sure all of my Dragon Tail uses are while I'm asleep. Unfortunately, I'm kind of forced to go for one there because I don't want to risk the crit, and he can actually damage me, like, quite decently. As there I'm going to go for the Dragon Tail on the Suicune. I'm down to one Dragon Tail left at this point, and obviously I'm going to have to go to sleep because I don't want to waste it here. I want to save it for a turn when the Suicune is in and threatening me. So that I can force it out without having to rely on the Sleep Talk. Luckily, Sleep Talk kind of comes through for me there, as it allows me to get the Azelf out of there rather quickly. I think that was on my first Sleep Talk. So in comes the Suicune. Sorry, my chair is kind of loud. As I'm going to be able to Sleep Talk or recover, and on this turn I wake up and use my last Dragon Tail to get it out of there, get a little bit more damage, get a little bit more Stealth Rock damage, and hopefully wear it down to the point where something can happen later on in the game. As in comes Arcanine again, once again on the Umbreon, just trying to burn it, just trying to wear it down as he goes for a Foul Play, receives his own wish, and gets back up to full. On the next turn, I'm pretty sure he's going to Heal Bug or get rid of the burn from himself, so I'm just going to roar him out. Again, just trying to rack up Stealth Rock damage on everything on his team, especially now because the two things on his team that had lefties at the start do not have them anymore. He turns out into his Suicune, which I found rather odd because I figured the roar was rather obvious, and he doesn't have lefties on the Suicune, and it would just be getting Stealth Rock damage racked up on himself. So I found that kind of weird, but regardless, he finally lets me kill his Azelf, which means I can finally bring out the Cofagrigus. The Suicune is his second last Pokemon. I feel like now is the time that he's going to try to set up. I'm going to live 2 Scalds. He gets the burn on the second one, which doesn't really come into play that much, just because I get this bit of drop here. So here's where a Mind Game comes in, because if he were to Calm Mind on that turn, and I were to Pain Split, predicting him to rest, he would have won the game on the spot, because I wouldn't have been able to touch him. So I go for the Shadow Ball, just in case he wants to pull that, because I know on the second turn, if he doesn't pull a Scald with the Sleep Talk, which he doesn't, I'm able to Pain Split off all the damage, lower his health, and get back up to a point where I can live a couple hits. I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball yet again, and unfortunately for him, he pulls a Rest with the Sleep Talk, which kind of came into play for him. Here's a huge turn. If he goes for the Calm Mind, which he does, my best play is to go for the Shadow Ball, weaken him down. If, however, he were to go for the Rest, my best play would be go for the Pain Split. Now, the reason he didn't go for the Rest is because he figured I was going to go for the Pain Split, which would have actually given him back health there. It was a complete mind game at that point. But the fact that I won it, and I came out on top, means we can finally see who outspeeds who naturally, and it happens to be the Arcanine. So, ladies and gentlemen, throughout that whole battle, ton of mind games at the end. I got a little bit lucky with the Calm Mind pulls there at the end, but I feel like that more than enough makes up for the fact that he crit my Roserite. I missed so many Willows. Just in general, I feel like the hacks balances out at the end. He got a little bit unlucky with the Calm Minds. I got a little bit unlucky throughout the entire game. And it all culminates down to him not being a jerk and allowing me to kill off his Umbreon before like turn 200. He's not going to stall me out, he's just going to allow me to kill it off clean. So that is going to be the game. If you stuck around for the whole thing, kudos to you. It was an absolute amazing match to go out on. Probably one of the best I've had in UU all generation. So it's really fitting that I go out with this match. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, 2 decent players, put it that way, so we can definitely predict off of each other, and because of that, there were some actual decent high-level predictions going on in this game. A ton of mind games, like I mentioned. So, hope you guys enjoyed. This game took forever to narrate and put together, so definitely leave a like if you did. I hope to see you guys next time as we continue with the 5th Gen Countdown, and take it easy. Peace.